Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to TCG University. It is me, Noah, here, your lovely study hall podcast host for the Final Fantasy chapter. I just had a brain fart there. We're back at it again with another deck profile from Bahamut Brawl. This one will be my Cadets deck. I don't know if Dancers or Cadets goes up first or last, but either way, hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. I've been playing Cadets for about, maybe a year-ish or two, I'd say. I'm still working out the kinks, but I do realize that there was somebody there that ended up making top 16, top 8, and then I believe also top 4 with Cadets. If not top 4, then at least top 8, which I'm knocking things around. Awesome. I love it. I fucking love Cadets. I love the way this plays. And I've tried playing Type 0, and I'm really bad at playing Type 0, but I still love the concept, and I love Cadets, so let's get into it. First card we played was... Sorry, we're starting with backups. I'm really bad at these. So we played 3 CP Moogle, class 0. That says that all of my class 0 cadets I control gain 1k power. Might bump this up to a 2 of, but currently we're only playing 1. I just don't like the 3 CP cost, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. We played 2 copies of Rem, backup Rem. There's so many of her. That just says when she enters the field, I can choose a Type 0 card in my break zone, add in my hand. Virtually anything in my deck. Besides... I believe the Ama, everything in my deck is Type 0. We're about to figure that out now. So she's essentially a 2 CP backup or a really good EX burst that just adds an extra card in my hand, which that's like the whole reason we play her. She is able to help me recur my cards. After that, we play 3 copies of Deuce. And Deuce is 2 CP backup that just says pay win dollar, choose an attacking forward, deal it 2k damage, or pay win dollar, pitch a copy over for Concerto, choose a forward and deal it 4k damage for each cadet forward I control. She's just a very cheap backup. There's really no Deuce forwards worth playing, and we need the cadet backups more than we need the forwards, in my opinion. If there were more cadet backups, I think I would just play those over the forward lineup. I do like the forward lineup though. Moving on, we play 2 copies of Samurai. This is definitely getting changed. This is not for the Crystal generation. It was initially, but I took that card out. It's more of the Dull It Break It to say that something deals 1k more, which is just for Ace. Honestly, it's for Ace to be able to hit those numbers that he can't make, like 7ks or 9ks, when I just don't have the right number of cadet forwards on field. And we play 2 copies of Cater, backup Cater, 2 CP that just says pay a win dollar, deal forward 1k, or pay a lightning dollar, deal a damage forward 2k. So she can kind of clean up depending, but she's also just a cheap generic backup that's a cadet. I guess the whole reason we have her, really. The deck's pretty streamlined in that matter. We played 2 copies of Vermilion Bird Lassie. She says on play, search for a Type 0 summon, which the ones that we have in here are Odin and Diabolos. You will see those later. And then we also have her super cool special, which is pitch copy of her, pay 2, fire, Dollar. I break 5 backups, or I put 5 backups I control into the break zone. I break all the forwards my opponent controls. She's a board wipe. I've only ever used this effect cumulatively throughout playing this deck, maybe twice. I don't really get that board wipe as much. We play 1 copy of Nagi, just so my dudes can get over things that try to block them, essentially. None of them besides Queen have first strike, and she's very defensive in my opinion, so we just play a copy of this for the lightning CP, and also it's just a cheap backup to put out onto the field. And then, to find our cadets, we play 3 copies of Aracia, who essentially just searches for a Type 0 forward. That's all she's used for. I will pay 4 CP every time if I have to allow myself to search out any of the cards I need, mainly Ace, because Ace is sick. Moving on to the summons, we have 2 copies of Diabolos. It just deals 1k damage for each character I control to a forward, and then if I control a class 0 cadet, I get to restand 3 backups, virtually making it free. Or letting me cast more stuff, virtually making it free. 2 copies of Amaterasu. We're playing Fire in the deck. The ability to cancel autos is really good and potentially either kill something or just cancel the autos nuts. Amaterasu kind of speaks for itself. We also have a video where we talk about that, which will be posted maybe up there somewhere or in the comments or the description. We'll see. Make James do it. Play 2 copies of Odin. This Odin says I can choose a forward of 7k or less power, break it. If I control a type 0 cadet, it just says choose a forward and break it for 4 CP, which is real good because we control a lot of cadets. It's not an EX burst though, unlike Diabolos, which is a major bummer, but it makes sense because it'd be a little broken. 3 copies of 7. 7 is there as another gap for Amaterasu. 7 says that my cadet forwards can't be blocked by forwards that cost 4 more, and then I also can pitcher, choose a special or auto ability, and cancel it. So things like Shantoto just say nope. Any on-play ETBs like Titan and or Susano are allowed to be canceled out, which is sick. But it is a special and it's not an auto, so it's not like a response, but however that matters. We play 2 copies of, I believe this is the Opus 3-8. That says on play, I can choose up to 3 job class cadet characters I control, restand them, or activate them. And then I can pay 1, pitch him. During this turn, he cannot be chosen by summons or abilities, and the next damage dealt to him becomes 0. Just virtually a safe guy to block with and keep on board if need be. He also is just free to play, which is nuts. Free to play forwards is how we want to do it. We also play 2 copies of 8. We play both copies of the 8s because they both virtually do the same thing, which might actually just be able to cut them down and put in one of my Moogle backups. But this one says the cost required to cast them is 1 less for each class 0 cadet I control. When he enters the field, if I've casted 2 or more cards this turn, he gains haste until the end of the turn, which I might make this a 3 of, get rid of that, and then bump this up and swap around some other cards. This 8's, in my opinion, is probably just better. Instead of restanding, I just get a free cast a card because we control enough cadets, and it doesn't go off just forwards, it goes off backups as well. Also with name clashing, we played 2 of the multicolored Fire Wind Cater. Again, it's Fire and Wind, which are the 2 primary colors of the deck, so we can just pitch her if need be. And also, if we don't see the backup, she's also just a solid generic option. When she enters the field, sorry, we don't see a backup, she's a solid generic option. I keep like straying away from the mic. When she enters the field, I can choose up to 3 backups and activate them, making her free +1, essentially. Or I can choose a forward, deal it 1k damage for each backup I control, so up to 5. It's good as a main phase 2 play to clean up anything I was not able to kill off of Cease, 9, or Ace, which we'll get there. 2 copies of Sync might actually bump this up to a 3, removing that, and then bumping up the I'm like going through all this while I'm doing this. Weird. Sync's super good. 2 CP, 5k at base, but if I control 3 or more class cadets, she gains 4k power, which is why 2 backups plus her just makes her a 2-drop 9k for the rest of the game. And then if I control 7 or more class cadets, she gains Brave, and when she attacks, I can choose a character the opponent controls and break it. I've actually used this a good number of times, not countable on my hands, which is kind of good. It's over 10 times I've been able to use that ability. We play 3 copies of King. This one is the Opus 8? Opus 9. Wow, I'm bad at this. Opus 9 King that says I can discard a cadet to pay the cost of King instead of paying 4. So he's essentially a 2 CP 8k that says something can't block when he enters the field, which is nuts. And he's a fire forward. Let me tell you, he's a fire forward. That's what's also important, the same as Sync and Cater. Recently put out was Opus 15 Machina, which we played 2 copies of. He's a class 0 cadet, so he's searchable off of Auracia. He's also a class 0 cadet, which is important for the theme of the deck. If the number of characters my opponent controls is greater than the number of characters I have, he costs 3 instead of 5. And then if I have 2 or less forwards, when he attacks, he gains Brave, and he deals 4k damage to all the forwards the opponent controls. Again, just helpful ping damage if need be. Really, it's just he's cost effective. And he's a 9k that sits there that your opponent doesn't necessarily deal with immediately. We play 3 copies of Ace, obviously. Ace says on his EX burst is deal 2k to a forward for each category, or for each class cadet forward I control. It's the same as his on swing ability. So when he swings, if I control 3 dudes, he deals 6k to something, and you know, on and on. The secondary on enter effect is what matters. Is on entry, I guess, is ETB. What am I talking about? That's just the EX burst. His ETB is that I reveal the top 7 cards of my deck, and I get to add 2 Class 0 Cadets to my hand that are not named Ace. Theoretically, this card almost always costs 1 CP. If you play it off 5 backups, he net you 2 cards. Well, technically nets you 1 because you're playing him. But he's one of the staples you want in the deck just because of his removal form. On swing, deal something, damage or damage times 2 equal to the number of cadet forwards you control. And then we have, oop, I dropped one. 3 copies, not 2. Let me grab that 3rd one there. 3 copies of 9. This is the new, oh god, what are you, 14, 13, Jesus. Opus 13-9. That says instead of paying the cost to play him, I can dole a lightning forward, lightning cadet and fire cadet forwards, and just slap him on the field. And then he has an ETB that is also the same as his on attack trigger, which is when he enters the field or when he swings, he chooses a forward and minuses his power by 2k for each cadet I control. So it's not just forwards, but it's cadets I control, which is why I think the backups are important. He's him, 9, and Cease, which we'll get to in a bit, are essentially the crown jewels of the cadet forward lineup. Those 3 just about handle a board on their own, in my opinion. We play 3 copies of Queen, just because she's a lightning forward, because cadets has lightning forwards, but not that many good ones. Queen's one of the good ones. I'm playing the Opus 3 Queen instead of the one that says, like, if I have like 7 or more cadets or something, break a dude on play or duel something if I have 2 or whatever. The EX Burst Queen. I play this one over that one because I like the first strike that she gets when I control another cadet. Also, her Speed Rush, I believe it's called. Yeah. Speed Rush is really good to sneak on an opponent by playing her and giving her haste and swinging, and then you could play 8. You've casted 2 cards, they can both attack. She can't be blocked, 8 can, but if they don't have blockers, doesn't matter, you just need the haste swings out. So we play her. She's super good, and she's a 7k first strike, which I think is just generically strong. She's an 8k with Moogle out. She gets around a lot of things, especially when people are playing smaller powered forwards. They're spamming their boards more. And last but not least, we play 3 copies of Cease. Again, 1, 2, and 3 are my favorite cards in this deck. Cease says on swing, choose an opponent's forward, and it loses 1k for each cadet that I control, so she just does 1k less than what 9 would. She also has her Black Hole effect, which is ditch or pay 1, choose a forward until the end of the turn, it loses 4k power. So you can Black Hole and swing with her, and things can lose minimum of 5 because she's on the board, because it counts her. It doesn't say other, if I'm correct. Nope, does not say other. Yeah, so she counts herself, same as 9. Just gonna squeeze her in there. Cool things with the deck usually is turn 1 and 2 you build 2 to 3 backups. Hopefully you have an all ratio and you have it, or an ace or whatever. As long as you have an ace and a fire card, you play ace the soonest you can, at least off 1 backup, so you're not pitching 6 for it. Grab the 2 cards you need, which are generally any lightning card, so you can play Cease or Queen depending, and 9. 9 is always your search, and these are always usually what you search for. Unless you think you're fine, you don't need to slap the board down, because this is supposed to be a more aggressive deck. You don't need to make a big board yet. You can focus on getting backups, and then shuffle bottom deck everything after ace is used. There's not much to it. This archetype, I believe, has been around since technically Opus 3. It's been updated. Opus 3, Opus 9, and then Opus 13 are kind of where the big hits for cadets to get a bit better. But this is what I decided to play with. If I were to make any changes, I'd bump up my Opus 13, I'm so bad at this, Opus 13 8 to a 3 of, taking this one out, bumping up my Class 0 Moogle, and then bumping up my Sync to a 3 of, and I think the deck will just function a bit more, because it doesn't have that much of a recursion aspect, which is why I usually play about 3 of each of the important forwards. 7 is super solid defense and allows you to sneak your guys in with attacks, and also take your opponent's dudes off board. King is also the same way, it allows you to sneak in with attacks. And then Amaterasu, it's a deck that plays fire. Amaterasu should be there to protect any of your guys from ETBs that could potentially just fuck up your entire game plan, because board wipes really hurt this deck. That's all I really have. It's not that intricate of a deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Obviously, leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring that noti bell if that matters to you. Hope you guys enjoyed, and as James would always say, stay learnt.